poem about that.
If you get triggered, we can definitely start yelling.
If you get triggered, then it's working.
If you think this is blasphemy, start screaming triggered.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's up here somewhere. Sermon. It's in here. It's coming up. It's at the top. It's on its way. Any second now. It's Sunday. We're at church. What can we do? Alright. So this poem is called Jesus. So please drink the blood of Christ over there. And see how we go. Jesus walks past the old Catholic school. In his midnight, and his face is lit up by the glow of a cigarette. He hops the fence and walks between the old stone buildings, through the courtyard by the looming Gothic church. He finds a spot on his old hill of the sports oval and looks over the whole of the school. His mind is a flood of memories. He can see ghost throngs of children moving like a watery mass from class to class, running and playing on the grass, sitting solemn in the assembly halls, praying at morning mass. Praying to whom? He puts out his cigarette and bends his head in pity. He had been taught a good many things here alongside his brothers and sisters. Math, science, art, business, geography, religion. But the art of entering oneness in the spirit had not been won. The art of loving thyself had slipped sadly away from their mad scriptures. For all the priests and intelligent teachers at the school, never in his entire schoolhood had he felt or experienced anything even close to the life and lightning of God. Only the metallic weight of the dark cloud in the soul that these institutions pray to and feed with their groveling obedience and praise of a mediocre, commonplace soccer dad God. These people had long since lost their way. The flock was in need of their shepherd once again. Bound and wrapped in a deep psychological fence, he heard their souls bar for him. A tear rolled down his cheek. He wished to herd them through sunlit pastures again. He looked across the oval to where the tree line began, blooming with the bodies of Australian native plants, wattles, gums, banksias, acacia. He closed his eyes and saw the land before the boats had braced the shore and spilled white wine across the country's floor that crusted in cement cities looming on the carpet tall. Before the mosaic of the dreamtime was stoned and fell to unfurl a flag and erect a Christian wall, he closed his eyes and saw it all. Jesus opened his eyes slowly and stared at the holes in his hands, stared at the damage his name had done to the land, to the people, to the soul of man. He stared mournfully at the stars. No one needed more forgiveness than him. He muttered a prayer, a confession to the ancestors that ended with, "Forgive me, fathers. This is not the world I died for. This is not where I hoped to lead mankind. Woe, woe, woe am I." The black silence of the night weighed down heavy on his heart of light as he walked slowly with calm past the old stone buildings, through the courtyard and to the door of the old church. With a turn of his hand, he swung open the huge locked wooden doors and walked slowly down the angel-awninged hall, lighting candles with his mind as he walked. They glistened in the stained glass figures on high and in the lacquer on the rows and rows of empty chairs. He came sadly to the altar where a statue of his likeness dangled bloody from a cross adorned by a crown of thorns. He put a hand to his chest as he stood before himself. Such pain broke through there, the million eyes of suffering, mouths wry and crying, severed from their country, from their culture, from their families. He bent on his knees and wept in misery, his heart burning in the dark oil of these memories, a murky river pleading for healing in a black sea. He got up off his knees and trembled over to the organ and fell his fingers to the keys, filling the gaping cathedral with music of the uttermost mercy. Invisible stalactites dripped from the heights and an ancient fire shone in his eyes. It was time. He smiled and closed the organ lid, laying on it a broad-lipped kiss. He lit a cigarette and strolled over to the cross again, staring at the piles of rosemary sprawled at its feet, beside whole bowls of frankincense side by side and neat. Into his lungs the smoke he breathed, and whole at heart these words he heaved. Forgive me, Father, for I am sin. Bring this land to life again. I have come to die for it. He flicked his ember into the leaves. It smouldered with the rosemary and lit the cross in a phantom breeze that filled the church as he bowed to his knees, wrapped in robes of burning heat, and felt the flame of Biame. From the distance one could see the structures burn between the trees, from church to buildings in fiery spree, orange in the night and sweet, beneath the stars that bent their heads to see a sacrifice to free us all. Thank you.